Hello, hello. Welcome to the Confidence Through Cabaret podcast, all things confidence. And today we are talking with Frances Mary. And I already feel like there's an affinity because you're in Bristol in the UK.
Yeah.
I'm the next city over and spend every day of my life in Bristol in the UK. So as soon as you said you're in Bristol, I suddenly felt like, I sort of feel like I know you. So welcome, Mary.
Thank you.
Frances. Oh my gosh, I'm really bad with names. I should have told you that before we go. I constantly, because I'm Heather, but I'm also Helen on stage.
Uh-huh.
I never have any affinity to being called by my name, and I make names up in my head. It's terrible. Frances Mary, welcome to Confidence Through Cabaret and the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. And you can call me Mary if you like. Lots of people call me Mary. Frances or Mary is absolutely fine.
Amazing. I love a good formal long name. So like, I have a son called Benjamin and he's called Benjamin, not Ben, not Ben. It's like, I'm really pedantic about shortening names. And yet somehow I change people's names, which is way worse.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's nice to have a nice long formal name, but everybody shortens my name. So
What do they normally shorten your name to?
lots of people call me Fran, which at first I was really resistant to. Well, I grew up in London, and when I first moved to Bristol, lots of people just picked up on, started calling me Fran, and at first I was like, no. And then after a while, I just got used to it. So yeah, I'm happy either way.
Yeah. It's names are very personal though. They are important to us. Like and so I think my son is now called Ben by everybody because he lives in Canada and that's what they do. Fortunately, they don't then lengthen it again by making it going to Ben and then Benny and then Benji and all that other. They don't lengthen it, so which I'm happy about. But I think it's kind of how we associate ourselves. So I meet a lot of people in the corporate world who are Dave in their personal life, but David at work. Do you know, it's that kind of, and I don't know why I've chosen men's names here, but do you know, it's that kind of context.
Yeah.
So when you go to London, do they call you Fran or do they call you Frances there?
Well, all my family call me Frances and always have. And some of my old friends call me Frances, but pretty much everybody else calls me Fran. And now people have started calling me Mary, which is nice because I'm sort of bringing in a new kind of moniker for my music, which is Mary. So I'm fine with Mary as well.
Okay, so what we haven't said is Frances Mary is a singer, and we're going to talk lots about that. And obviously, we talk in Confidence Through Cabaret about personal life, work life, and stage life. But for most people, stage life is something like being online or doing presentations at work or, wherever you show up in your audience. But Frances Mary actually has an audience. Like you're actually a singer and you go on stage.
Yeah, I do occasionally. I haven't been on stage like properly for quite a long time because I had some health problems. But yeah, I've always been a singer. I've been a singer all my life, and I just over the last few years I've written an album, and I'm getting ready to release that. So I will be going back on stage soon, which is exciting.
It is exciting, and I'm so glad you said that word because when I went back on stage about a month ago, it had been a long time because before COVID, then the year before, my husband passed away, and then I had a very serious car accident. So that wiped out 2019 as well. So it had been a long, long time, and I was like, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. I don't even know if I'm this person anymore. And that's what took me through trying that, and I loved it, was being excited. And I think a lot of people, when they think about stage, they think fear.
Mm. Yeah. There is a lot of fear around being on stage too. And I can relate to that because it's kind of that being afraid of being seen, because once you're being seen, you're exposing a part of yourself. It makes you vulnerable, and and then it kind of puts you in line for criticism and, people making comments about you. You kind of become public property once you put yourself up there. So it's scary. It's a scary place to be. It can be anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you find that most audience members are really willing you to do well and are supportive?
Yeah. Yeah. Usually, like, once I get on stage, I'm absolutely fine. For me, it's the anticipation that is the hard part. But once I'm actually up there, I'm in my element. I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. But what I find difficult is the self promotion. The kind of, hey, look at me, I'm doing something exciting, on social media and those kind of places. Like, I find that part really difficult, and that's the biggest challenge for me.
Isn't it interesting? Because in theory, like, because a lot of people have this social media mask, right? Where they always have to be flawless and smiling or doing something cool. And I'm just so the opposite of that. I'm just so the opposite of that. But I understand why people do that. I just think that you go on a stage performing something you have written as yourself, and your body and your voice are your kind of tools, if you like, your props, if you like. The way I would use gloves or heels, and then you have that confidence to do that, which most people would kind of freak out about. And then social media, where you can curate it, then that's the part that is difficult. I find that interesting.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I've recently got into doing Facebook Lives and doing them within a group setting just to kind of build my confidence. And I find that going live way easier than recording a video to create that content to put out on YouTube or something. Like, I find that part, I haven't quite got there yet with that. I just find that part really, really challenging. But for some reason, if someone gives me a prompt and I just hop on, I find that easy. I used to do radio show, and I just used to find that was a comfortable thing for me to do. Partly because no one could see me, but partly just because it was just a nice thing because I knew it was going out live. I don't know, for some reason it's just easier. I don't know why that is.
So I have theories, because I've been a training consultant for a really long time, and so I've always worked with large audiences or at least teams, and recording where it's just you and the little green dot there's no energy coming back. And if you're an extrovert or you have strong extroverted energies, then not having that coming back, like, that's what we feed off of.
Yeah.
So when you're on live or somewhere where there's other people listening or other people connecting, or there's other people even kind of around you in some way, then commenting and that kind of thing, then it's a lot easier because that you're getting energy back. When I started recording stuff, I still don't prefer recording stuff, but I had to have somebody in the room that I could be talking to.
Right. Yeah.
And they would just not. And one of my co-pioneers, Ryan, who's also a producer of music and drag queen as well. A lot of people in the community will know. And I used to actually have to have them sitting behind and nodding, and they weren't even paying attention. They were flicking through Facebook, but they were nodding and smiling and moving, and it just felt better.
I can see how that would be helpful. Yeah. I need to do a live stream, sing some of my songs to help promote my forthcoming singles. So I want to get people in the room so that I've got someone to feed off of. So I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, getting people in the room would really help you. And actually, to be honest with you, because I use StreamYard more than I use Zoom, because you can have it. For anybody who hasn't been on StreamYard before, there's like a little green room where you're kind of grayed out, but you're still on video, so you can still be seen, but you're not on camera. And I like that for training, because a lot of times people will just shut off their video. And I'm like, you can keep it on because nobody else can see you. It's only me that can see you. So then that way, we kind of have a connection. And so even keeping people in the green room, like sometimes I'll have a panel of people in there and while I'm talking live.
Mhm.
And that's really reassuring. There's somebody here with me that I'm talking to.
Yeah, I think that's going to really help me a lot when I do it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so so many things that you've talked about here. Okay, let's talk about your music. So you write and create, well, you fully create your own music, right?
Yes. Well, I work with someone who does the production. But yeah, I write the lyrics and the melodies and perform the songs. So so yeah, we work together, and I'd say we've been working together for about 4 or 5 years. So we've got quite a lot of material backed up. And yeah, I didn't really feel ready to launch it. I was getting ready to launch it before the pandemic. And then obviously the pandemic struck and it just wasn't the right time. So, I just kind of waited and we wrote loads more music in the meantime. And in a way that's been quite good because now I've got like at least a year's worth of material. So I'm going to start releasing a track like one every 6 weeks.
Wow.
Starting on the 29th of October. So the first track is called Monster. And it's about kind of, like when you've been in a bad relationship and you come out the other side and you're all twisted and mangled and you just don't recognize yourself anymore. And you're like, who am I? And you kind of like, and you're angry and jealous and revengeful and you're looking in the mirror and thinking, wow, this just isn't me anymore. This is this monster that's come out of this. So that's what the song's about, really. And it's a kind of like heavy, kind of hip hoppy beat. It's quite a moody. It's got kind of quite a spooky vibe. It's very Bristol flavored. The vocals are quite jazzy. So yeah.
That's amazing. That's absolutely wonderful. And I love that you have that way of being able to express the feelings that are universal, really, that everybody's been through that monster,
Yeah. And I feel like the music is like a really good way of exploring those difficult feelings and emotions. Like it's a kind of like a healthy way of getting them out,
Yeah. And singing live is just going to be like therapy.
Yeah, it is therapy. I would say that any kind of like self-expression, whether it's music or art or theatre, writing, it's all therapy because you get to really get to know yourself better by getting out these things that are inside us. You start to really understand yourself on a deeper level. So it's very healing, even if like at the time when you're going through it, it feels kind of gnarly.
Yeah, it's and cabaret and burlesque was the way that I found that. And I recently debuted a new kind of persona because my old persona was very much about my past. And I mean, I purposely named it Hell and Back because I wanted it to be about like that journey to coming back. And all of the crap, and it was very angry and in your face and calling things out, and it was therapy. And then after the pandemic, then I kind of went, I'm not really that person. Like I'm just not that mad anymore.
That's cool.
I don't need to be this. But you've mentioned the character of Mary.
Yeah, so there's kind of like 3 aspects to this character, and I was going to say because there's parts of you that you may feel like that is a part of you at the time, and you can use that character to explore sides of your personality or your character, but you might not feel like you are that character all the time. So I mean I've always released music under the name Frances Mary. and I've developed this new project called Mary in the Mirror. So this Mary in the Mirror, that's my shadow side. That's the difficult side of myself. That's the dark, side of myself that I want to look at, that I want to explore, because I don't want that side of me to just, be in the shadows and then kind of like come out when I least expect it or least want it. Do you know what I mean? I want to be aware of that side of myself. And so Mary in the Mirror is this kind of, she's been through some really difficult stuff, and through exploring that, she's kind of like growing into this almost kind of like the hero of her own life story. I'm really kind of into this idea of like these superheroes that have been through the darkness and been through a lot of trauma, and they've come out the other side stronger and more powerful and ready to use everything that they've learned to help other people. So I'm really intrigued by that idea. And then there's this other side of it, which is because I have a bit of a history doing. I used to be in a 3-part vocal harmony group, and we were called the Fabulous Corsets. So we used to wear corsets and the whole false eyelashes, the whole glamour thing. And we were a spin-off from a can troupe called the Red Hot Fruity Kickers. And so there's that side of me as well, which is this kind of like, I love the feathers and the sequins and the makeup. I love all of that. So like, there's part of me that secretly wants to be a fabulous showgirl. And so then I have this other moniker, which is Mary Minor. So I'm going to be bringing out a load of music as well under that moniker. And I'm going to put a band together and it's going to be called the Minor Tones. It'll be Mary and the Minor Tones. So I'm going to have vocal harmonies, and I fantasize about having a big band, like jazz and swing and stuff, and a bit of doo-wop. So Frances Mary is the creator who's kind of sitting at home doing the writing, studying and trying to figure out how to do all of this. And then I've got the Mary in the Mirror kind of shadow self superhero kind of character. And then I've got this like fun sort of cabaret showgirl. So
I am so happy that you shared that. Thank you.
That's all right.
When Ryan and I started producing things online for Confidence Through Cabaret, the very first thing we did was launch a challenge, like right away. All the rules broken. We didn't bother to find out like, how do you do that? Or, what are the rules? We just did it. And it's still to this day my favorite challenge. It's still, if you're in the Confidence Through Cabaret community, then it will be in the guides section still. And there is a full, really long PDF to guide through as well, which you can get on the confidencethroughcabaret.com website. It would be on there. Mm-hmm. But it was called the All Caps Challenge, and caps stood for character, avatar, or persona. Mm-hmm. So depending on how you wanted to create these voices or images or parts of yourself to express, mm-hmm. then you could create that. And I do a lot of work with Imposter Syndrome, which is one of those voices, right? Your imposter voice, if you give it a name, is the one that disables you and tells you you shouldn't be doing it, and you messed that up, and don't ask for help, they're going to think these things, and so on. And so I have that. My voice is called Donald, because Donald is just like, because I speak quickly usually anyway, and then Donald's just like, and it's nonstop. And I've made Donald all of the things that I don't like. And then as in I don't like that I would say to myself. And so I love that you've shared all these different sides to you that are all authentically you. Mm-hmm. Because that's the question that we got asked the most is, but isn't this fake if you make up a strong, fierce you? And it isn't.
Yeah, it's a way of expressing more than you feel safe to express otherwise. And if it's coming from you, then it is part of you. So, and I feel like, like makeup, clothing, all of those things, that they can kind of become like it. At first it feels like a mask that you're hiding behind, but actually it actually enables you to bring forth more of you, because you feel safer to bring that forth.
Yeah. Yeah. I think some people create, and I certainly did, to create a mask that is kind of like, I'm okay. So this
Mm.
is how the world sees me. This is how they expect to see me, and
Mhm.
and I only show up that way. And there became certainly for me this fear of people won't like me if they really knew what's going on and who I
Mhm.
really am. And so I created this whole thing that was, all very, flawless. And it doesn't help when you live by your labels of, whatever your labels are, business person or mother or, whatever wife or partner or, whatever your thing is. And so uh, I had to get to that point of being able to show more of me by
Mhm.
using those props as opposed to hiding behind them. And that took decades.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
We did on confidencethroughcabaret.com. We do different workshops and things, and we did 3 makeup workshops in August. And I thought, I don't want to be sending the impression that I'm sort of saying like you have to wear makeup, but some people do want to be able to, and they don't know how, and they don't know how to ask that question. But we went into like full drag makeup,
Oh
and it
wow,
was
that sounds cool.
so much fun. It took over 2 hours of just playing with makeup. And it was so cool just putting like different colors all over in different places and not having makeup rules. And that's when you start to know that like this is expressions of me, and this is, oh, if I draw eyeliner on my cheek, that brings out a different feeling for me, a different energy.
Yeah, because it's play,
Mhm.
isn't it? And that's how we discover the world, is through play. I mean, as children, that's what we do. Do you know what I mean? And then as we grow into these adults, we forget, and I think if you're an artist, it kind of almost gives you a license to play a little bit, and I think that's part of its appeal.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so people would hear your music, or they hear your radio show, or they'd hear you out there with your public persona as Frances Mary. How how true is that to the idea that you must be confident? Because look at you, you're out there putting yourself out. Is it a little bit of a misnomer that, because I always feel like people say, "Oh, you're so confident." It's like, no, sometimes extroverts are out there because they're not confident, and that's the way of creating that.
Yeah, it's a bizarre paradigm of being an artist, that you can kind of feel really small and really insignificant and really unworthy, and then you somehow manage to pull it all together and get out there on stage. And then when you get out there on stage, you transform into this diva, and you're like, yeah, and you're connecting with everybody in the crowd, and it brings you to life. And it's a really weird thing that I've never quite been able to get my head around, but lots of performers are the same. um I think lots of performers, we struggle with this kind of, am I good enough, and and yet somehow we transform. It's like,
Yeah.
I feel like there's some, it's like a superpower that kind of comes through you or something. You become this vessel for this superpower that kind of comes in and then injects you with this, like, suddenly you're radiant and able to do it.
So that adrenaline and that excitement and that desire and all of those things that you're there to express, it overrides all of those voices of the imposter of saying, good enough, or what are you doing, or you know it just that voice doesn't, it just doesn't appear. All those negative thoughts don't appear unless there's a pause and you're looking at the audience and something's not going well. But I watched um, a very experienced cabaret performer last weekend have all kinds of costume malfunctions.
Oh,
I mean, I mean, you just get through it because you do.
Yeah.
But it was one after another, and it became the point when you could see where her imposter voice could have kicked in and gone, "Uh-oh," but she
Yeah.
didn't. She laughed, and she
Oh.
kind of became like, "This is okay because nothing is stopping me," and it made all of us just even more supportive and excited because it didn't take away from it. We could see it wasn't working. Things didn't light up and things didn't undo
Mhm.
and so on. And we could see that happening, but we still got the storyline and we still, enjoyed the performance itself. But there was a moment of decision when she said, I'm not going to give into this. I'm not going to, this isn't going to break me. I'm going to enjoy this.
Yeah, I could imagine, you have to kind of almost just accept and embrace what's happening in the moment, and audiences love like the vulnerability of that, don't they?
Yeah.
For some reason, audiences really receive vulnerability really well. So yeah, if you can laugh at yourself and just be like, malfunction. I don't know. But I also think like, and there's something in that moment when you step on stage where you become completely immersed in just being in the moment. And I think that's an important part of it, because I think a lot of the anxiety and the worry and the feeling like an imposter comes from not being present, because you're worrying about things that have happened in the past, or you're projecting into the future and worrying about what might happen in the future, and it takes us out of the moment. But when you know that you're like in that moment, you have to step up and you're going to perform, it just brings you right into the moment, and that's when the fears just kind of drop away.
That's so true. That's so true. How do you recreate that when you're not on stage?
Meditation.
Mhm.
Yeah. um yeah, just practicing being present, and then like following your thoughts and just catching them out. Like I started policing my thoughts, and just catching myself. If I was saying something negative or overthinking something, I'd try and catch myself in the moment and go, no. Now reverse that and say something positive 10 times. And that sort of brain training does work after a while. It
Yeah,
does.
because
It
it
does
controls those
really.
voices.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, wouldn't it be wonderful if we were taught that as children? Anyway,
I know.
that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've already said that you are a secret showgirl. I have absolutely no doubt that you could combine singing and cabaret movement and burlesque, and I can fully see it. I have this beautiful picture of that all happening. um and I mean, you're a cabaret performer anyway, as in you're performing in small audiences and in clubs and bars and those kind of spaces,
Yeah.
as opposed to massive kind of venues like Royal Albert Hall or those kind of things. I mean, that's obviously not cabaret, but and I guess that how you've described your music and your stage presence, it really lends itself to having all of those beautiful props and feathers and sequins and all the things that we love. So, if you could have one prop on stage with you, and not a microphone, but if you were performing in a cabaret kind of with those feathers and sequins and things, what would your one prop be of choice?
Oh, I think probably some kind of like long feather boa or scarf, but something that you can kind of play with and whip around and you know put in front of your eyes and
Yeah.
something like that.
And do you have a color in mind for that?
Red. or hot pink.
So something really vibrant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the boas, I mean, that not all of them are feather. A lot of them are kind of an organza material, really heavily packed, and they're very thick. Like they're uh, almost a shawl. Do you know, it's that
Hmm.
they're huge, and they're actually fairly heavy and long. But I love that idea of that you can kind of reveal
Yeah.
and then mask. That's really great. That's really great. So, and then if you had to pick a new stage name, what name would you pick?
Mm.
What would
Oh.
introduce you with your red or vibrant pink boa?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I picked the name Mary Minor because I like the double M, because I was always obsessed with Marilyn Monroe, and when I was growing up, and I just used to love, her little stage performances and the way she used to shimmy and her voice, and so I was obsessed with her. So I would probably, do some kind of twist on the Marilyn thing. Um, Marilyn Mansfield.
Oh wow! Oh wow! So now you're going with two superpowers. Okay, I see how you went there. I love that. I mean, but they were iconically. I mean, we obviously Marilyn Monroe had a very tragic personal life, and then her stage life was an entirely different image.
Mm.
And it's that part of it that we all bought into, that we all kind of look at and see it as iconic.
Mm.
Um, and there are probably no artists who don't have that other side of how it manifests itself is entirely different for each of us, but that kind of that other side that isn't so confident and isn't so I don't know, effervescent. And
Mhm.
yeah, but I love that. I love that old style, especially how you've described that you love the boa or the feathers or sequins or those kind of things. It very much lends itself to that. So what would you say is your favorite lesson that you've learned so far in your life?
Oh, what's my favorite lesson?
Doesn't have to be the deepest one or the best.
um, Learning to love myself, I guess. That's been the most important thing for me, because, loving myself means that I'm willing to give myself a chance to live my authentic life, that I'm not going to accept second best for myself, but I'm going to make sure that I give myself the best. And that's really important to me. So yeah, and it's a process. Learning to love yourself is a process, and I would say that I'm very loving towards myself, but I still sometimes I catch myself criticizing myself, and I'm like, that's not. I still don't fully love myself yet. So it's a lifelong commitment, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a journey. If you were done, then what?
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of that learning, I guess.
Hmm.
So what would you say to somebody who, let's say that they know they have a singing voice or believe they have a singing voice or have a way that they want to express themselves? What advice would you give to them about following that and expressing that?
Well, I think that one of the biggest problems with people finding their confidence with singing is feeling like they have to open their mouth and immediately be great. And I think that, we live in this kind of X Factor generation where people feel like if they get up on stage and they don't do it well, then they're going to be ridiculed. And I think this is a huge problem. And I have a lot of singers come to me and say, oh, I really want to sing. And, I just don't know where to start. And I'm like, well, the trouble is we feel like now that singing is this special talent and this special gift that is only given to the chosen few with the X Factor. And that's not true. I think singing is our birthright. I think it's something that we are all capable of doing. Even if you're tone deaf, you're still, it's like your voice and making sound is a form of self-expression. And those vibrations that we make when we're singing are very healing. It kind of recenters us, resettles the body. It's just a healing process, and it's such an amazing form of expression. And I just feel like that if you want to sing, that's the first thing you have to conquer, is you have to conquer that fear of making a sound and being criticized. So I always tell people to just start by humming. Go in the bathroom where you got nice acoustics, just hum while you're in the shower. Try and just get used to, just even if you're just doing it in front of one person, start small, do it in front of one person, and then kind of take it from there, because it's like a muscle. It's like working a muscle, your confidence muscle. So the more you work it, the stronger it gets. And then it's like learning to be playful with it, and just learning that it's okay to just mess about and just have fun, and don't be afraid of sounding silly, because that's how we get past those things. Is like, okay, it's okay to make up a silly rhyme about doing the dishes or something. It doesn't matter if it doesn't rhyme. It doesn't matter if it's not in tune. But the more you do it, and the more you get comfortable with just playing with sound, the more you'll feel that it's natural, and it'll become as natural as breathing. So that's kind of my ethos with singing. I want it to feel as natural as breathing, and it does now for me. It's sort of, I'll be in a cafe and then I'll suddenly realize that I'm just singing. And I didn't even realize I was doing it. I'm just doing it, and that's good, because that means that I feel totally comfortable now with using my voice.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I shared on a podcast, we were talking about fears, and I said my worst nightmare is being at a party where everybody's doing karaoke or something, and I quite often after aerial shows we'll go back to somebody's place and stay up all night and do karaoke, and I hate it. I just hate it. I'm happy to sing in the car. I'm happy to sing silly songs and things, but karaoke is just like this, because there's always somebody there that's like, I don't know, the karaoke police. And I had quite difficult times. I used to travel into the Far East quite often, around Asia, and they would always do an evening of karaoke as the way of entertaining their guests, and they were brutal, and they would be terrible. You should not sing that song, and I was like, oh dear, okay. Oh. I was just being nice. I didn't want to. And so it is my version of hell to have to do something like that, which is kind of extended into I'll sing as long as nobody else hears it, unless I'm doing a funny voice.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if I was choosing one kind of cabaret outlet, would be to learn to use my voice properly. Because I agree with you fully. Everyone can sing. It is your birthright, and you need to be able to lift your voice, and it is therapy.
Yeah. I mean, because I'm a vocalist, I'm just always making kind of noise, just random noises, in the morning. And I just, sometimes my partner sort of goes, oh, you're making a lot. And I'm like, well, you chose to go out with a vocalist. What do you expect?
Exactly. Yeah. But, it is really healing, like to take that really deep breath and make a strong noise that comes from way down in your body. It makes your bones vibrate. It's so healthy.
It's very, very healthy. And I would encourage you to just start by humming. Just hum a little song every day, just a little something. Just, it warms up your vocal cords. It just gets you used to it. And you'll be feeling those vibrations, and those vibrations make you feel good. And just do it for your own well-being,
Yeah.
And then if you want to develop into doing more, then you can just choose a coach that you enjoy working with, and develop some vocal exercises that are right for you. Maybe start with some simple songs and just take it one step at a time. You can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I would like to be able to, I still don't think I'll ever love karaoke, but I would like to be able to, like, and I think that's the difference. Is like, I want to be able to go, "No, I don't want to," rather than, "Oh, I don't want to because I'm petrified and there's no way." And yet, weirdly, then I'll strip on stage. I don't understand what that.
See, I don't know if you're
How
going
is
to
it that
strip on stage, but I admire that you're able to do that.
how bad is it that I feel better about my body than my voice? And I don't
Yeah.
feel good about my body. I mean, I do feel good about my body, but it's not like, it's not because it's exactly how I want it. I just am like, oh well, it is what it is. I'm still doing it. And yet my voice is the thing that would make me go, no, no,
Yeah.
can't do that. I love what you said about humming and things. So my daughter can't play the kazoo.
Oh, cool.
And I only found this out because a kazoo, for those of you who don't know, is a thing you put in your mouth and then you hum, more or less, right?
Yeah,
Right? You put it in your mouth and you hum, and it makes this
basically.
funny noise because it has some sort of a reed in it that vibrates and makes a funny noise come out. Right? It's a silly kind of a children's thing. I mean, it's valid as using it for making music, but it is things that children tend to get at a birthday party, and they're like 10 for a pound in a bag. But I found this out because a really close friend of mine had a kazoo and was given it at her wedding and was asked to play a piece. And that was how she found that she couldn't play a kazoo, because she was put up on the stage with her new husband and they were given beautiful kazoos, quite expensive ones, and they couldn't play, or she couldn't play. And she went, I was humiliated on my wedding day by accident. Like, it's horrendous. So I was telling my daughter this, and she said, I can't play the kazoo. And I was going, but it's humming. And she genuinely believes she can't hum.
Oh, wow.
I don't understand. I can't even relate to that in my body.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. So I
can't
know two people that can't hum.
I can't relate to that. There must be a way of.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
just a belief. It's a belief.
Exactly. Because obviously both of those people that I've named can take a deep breath and release it
Mhm.
with noise, right? And can just kind of like,
Yeah.
so, and both of them do, stretch and yoga sort of things. So there's that breath there, right?
Yeah. I mean, belief is a powerful thing, isn't it? If you believe that you can't do something, then you won't do it. And you'll have that belief, and that belief will persist. But actually, I think with singing, we just have to kind of understand that, in some cultures in the world, they communicate through song, and they always have. And there's when I was in Thailand, I discovered that there was, a whole tribe that's how they communicated. Like, they had far less words in their language than we do. But for each word, there would be like a few different ways of intoning it to give it different meaning. And it was so beautiful. Like, they had all these instruments in their culture as well, but they used to have these songs. And so, if when the young people were courting, they'd write songs for each other and sing them to each other. And so they had this whole love language. And it's because they've been born into that culture. So it makes you think, doesn't it? It makes you think, well, actually, it's just that we haven't been born into that culture of having music and song as part of our everyday, habits.
Yeah. But
And
it
that's what
really,
it is.
it is so strongly belief. So strongly belief. Oh, I could talk all day. That's a whole other podcast again. Um, um, Frances Mary, I have loved this conversation. I so, so connect with the messages that you've shared here. I would encourage people to find your voice and share it and do something that terrifies you, ideally every day. It's way cheaper than plastic surgery. Not that I'm advocating that, but I'm just saying. Do something that terrifies you every day. I genuinely, that is a practice of mine. If I can find something that I think, ooh, that's so comfortable, that I make myself do it, as long as it's safe. And sometimes it's not so safe. But I like to push the boundaries, and I think that makes us feel alive.
Absolutely.
And the fact that you're going to get on stage and perform what you've created is so exciting. And I so want to invite you to be on Confidence Through Cabaret. Just come on live, and you don't have to sing even. Just share and self-promote, because that's the thing that you said that you're not so comfortable with. So I'm going to go away and hum, and you're going to self-promote.
Okay, is it deal?
If you are listening on podcast, check out the YouTube channel, Confidence Through Cabaret. If you are on the YouTube channel, please like and subscribe. Check out the other videos on the playlist. There will be a Confidence with Coffee. That's hard to say. I will share a segment of this and talk about it as a way of connecting even further to Frances Mary and the message that they've shared with us today. Join us in the Confidence Through Cabaret community on Facebook. We are all the socials Confidence Through Cabaret, except for Twitter, which is at YBYWYS. And Clubhouse, I am at Heather YBYWYS. And that stands for, it is your body. You get to decide. You have full autonomy. It is your world. You get to do whatever lights you up. And it is your stage. Please take up space and own it. Don't shrink. Thank you, Frances Mary, for being here with us.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's been wonderful talking to you today.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.